Hey everyone, we are about to get started, and the novel I'm writing is Rise Again. We'll put it on the screen in just a moment. My goal today is 20,000 words. I'm pretty close to that. I have like less than 800 words to hit that goal. I imagine I'll go over, but I'm not positive. I'm having a little bit of a rough day in terms of focus. Last night I took one of my seizure medications late, and so I've kind of been off ever since. Like last night, it was late last night, so it wasn't during the day, but when I was trying to sleep and everything, it was a little rough. So we'll see how far I get, and how coherent it is. All right, so here is the story, Rise Again, a sci-fi novel by Jay Wilburn, and we are on chapter 9, I believe. Okay, so we're looking at chapter 9 and that long, crazy chapter title. All right. So here we go. I was having a pretty good day up until I felt the gun press against the back of my head. This was usually a busy street. Busy for this part of I'm just going to put a placeholder here. Campbell, North Carolina. Alright. I was having a pretty good day up until I felt the gun press against the back of my head. This was usually a busy street, busy for this part of Campbell, North Carolina. But, of course, everything was different now. Do you have any more of those masks? The unseen man holding the gun to my head asked. It was a surreal moment. It was a terrible time to get spacey in my thoughts, but I was scared and couldn't believe this was happening to me. Campbell isn't crime free, and we are close to the big city of Charlotte. But you'd have thought crime would dry up with everyone sheltering in place like we were. The North Carolina governor was taking it seriously. So at first I had no idea what he was talking about. I had gotten so used to wearing the mask that I hardly thought about it anymore. I had cloth ones with filters put in and disposed of between uses. Putting them on was like picking up my car keys and wallet. I did it without engaging the front of my brain. Man, surreal. So he had to ask me again. He gave my head a little shove. Okay, hold on, let me lowercase this over here while I'm seeing it. So he had to ask me again. He gave me a little shove to wake me up too, and it worked. I have some in my car. I knew I had messed up. I should have just told him I didn't have any more masks on me. I think in this case that needs to be split. Alright. Moving right along. Take us to your car, he said. Of course, he said that. I had practically invited him. And now I knew there was more than one. My brain decided at that moment to realize my life might really be in danger. We went to my car and I offered him the keys over my shoulder. Just take it. I'll turn around and not see you go. I'll wait hours before calling the police. I won't even call them. I won't call the police. how close do you live to this street? He asked. I don't want. I didn't know how to finish that sentence and go on living too. All right. Tell me where you live. I'm in a townhouse several blocks over. You can just take the car, though. Please. Get behind the wheel and give us masks. So then, okay, so I was in the driver's seat, literally, but not figuratively. The other guy got into the passenger's seat beside me, and the man with the gun and a third person slid into the back seat. My seat shifted uncomfortably when the gunman grabbed hold of it to put the gun on me again. I fumbled the keys several times and was starting to tear up, making it harder to see. The guy next to me put his hand over mine and guided the key into the ignition. Sorry, that guy said to me. It's okay, I said, out of habit. Okay. Masks, the gunman said. I fumbled with my center console, praying I had 3 extra. I passed my red, blue, and green masks without filters in them to my captors. I wore the black one most of the time because I thought it looked cooler. I looked at their faces. The men and the woman. The one with the gun couldn't figure out the ear straps, so she had to help him in my back seat. I didn't make that a compound word earlier, so I'll need to jump back on that later. Alright. Then the gunman made eye contact with me. And I realized what I'd done. I turned forward and grabbed my steering wheel so tight that the plastic made a sound like leather under my grip, and my knuckles turned white. I'm sorry. And a third time. I stammered. I didn't mean to see you. I have a terrible memory. I can never describe faces. Please don't kill me. I didn't mean to see your face. He said the strangest thing from behind me. Why would I care if you see my face? I didn't know how to answer, so we sat in silence for a few seconds that felt like most of my life. It wasn't until later that I considered that comment It wasn't until later, let's say when we were driving, when we got to my townhouse, that I considered that comment might mean they planned to kill me anyway. That freezing idea kept me paralyzed to try anything other than to comply, even as I thought they planned to kill me. They took me up the steps. Okay, hold on. The guy from the... I may be skipping the drive over, so I'm hoping that makes sense as we go forward, but we'll see. Hopefully it won't trip up readers too much. The guy from the passenger's seat had to help me unlock my front door. They took me up the steps and sat me down on the couch with my back to the window, looking out on the street. I took off my mask and dropped it on the coffee table in front of me, in the midst of magazines I kept forgetting to unsubscribe from. The guy with the gun stowed the weapon away in his coat. That made me feel marginally safer. He said, "Are we allowed to take off our masks inside here?" I had another stunned moment. Why was he asking me permission to do anything? You're the one with the gun. You make the rules. We don't know the rules yet, the woman said. We just got here. They were crazy. That was the only explanation. Crazy people could be non-threatening one moment and lethal the next. I tried my best to keep from shaking or crying. Do you have the virus? They looked around at each other, stunned. The guy from the passenger's seat sat next to me on the couch. I wanted to slide away, but didn't dare move. What virus? He asked next to me. Nothing they said, did, or asked made a bit of sense to me, but I found out that day that when I'm under threat to my life, I tend to just answer every question asked of me as best I can. The coronavirus, I said. COVID-19. Do you have it? She asked. No. Let me put a period by this. No, let me figure this out. No. I've been safe. How do you know you've gotten it? The man who had the gun asked. I listed off the symptoms as best I could remember. Loss of taste, the guy next to me said. Weird. How deadly is it? She asked. Depends on who you vote for. I said. What does that mean? The man standing next to her asked. It was a joke. Sorry. They think it's pretty deadly. More than the flu. Maybe as bad as the one from 1918. But we don't know yet. It's really bad in Italy. right now. Are we allowed to take these off inside? The big man asked again. Yeah. Yes. You can take them off in your own house. Each of them removed their masks. The woman asked my name, and I told her Rick Helms. I told her I was Rick Helms. She then went around and introduced me to everyone. That's when I thought I wasn't getting out of this alive. Okay. Hold on. The guy next to me said that happened in my world too. The Spanish flu, right? Yes, I said. Okay, now we're down here. Trey Green sat next to me with his beard short but unruly. Aveline Miracle was the woman, and Patrick, oh gosh, what's his name? Let me give their last names one more time because I haven't used them in forever. If you'll forgive me a moment. Alright. That's all chapter 1. Patrick came in chapter Overhill. That should have been easy to remember. And Patrick Overhill was the one I expected to end my life. It's strange what you think about under stress. I never thought about my parents or family at all. We didn't talk much. We weren't close, and I never planned to see them again. Still strange not to flash back to your childhood at all. Later, that made me feel unanchored. It made me feel like a man without any past or connection to the world. I did think about Aveline Miracle's name. It sounded made up. It reminded me of the oddities of names for Southern, capitalize that, for Southern girls from trailer parks. She didn't have a Southern accent. None of them did. Trey might have had a hint of it, but he had a bizarre cadence to his voice. It reminded me of listening. It reminded me of a movie about Lee Harvey Oswald. He didn't have a Russian accent. Okay, hold on. He didn't have a Russian accent, but there were other languages mixed in under his English. Aveline Miracle's name made me think of a Bonnie and Clyde type of gang. I wasn't going to see tomorrow, I decided. How much trouble are we in for not wearing masks? Patrick asked. I shook my head, but made sure to answer. Not as much trouble as you'd be in for kidnapping with a deadly weapon. Patrick looked at Trey when he asked, "What's kidnapping?" I know it can't be what it sounds like. Trey, with his unique mix of accents didn't seem like the source for explaining words. I thought of Aveline as being the smart one in the gang, but Trey answered. Abduction. It means abduction. Why don't they just say abduction if they know that word? How did it become kidnapping in this world? Trey glanced at me. Trey glanced at me, but I didn't know if I was supposed to answer. He let me off the hook. Well, in my world, I believe it started with the Limburg. I may have to check spelling on that later. I'm not going to look it up right now. I don't think that's right. Let's see if I can try again. I think that's it. Okay, we'll find out. Well, in my world, I believe it started with the Limburg baby being kidnapped, abducted. Who? Patrick shook his head. Who? Patrick shook his head. He was a famous pilot. Trey looked at me. Is that how it happened in your world? I shrugged. I really don't know. That's just the... Okay, let me fix really. I really don't know. That's just the word for this. I put a for this. Is it nabbing? Patrick asked, like you nabbed the kid? You're an adult, though. Do they have a different word for that? They just... Okay, let me make that a question mark. They just use the same word. I said, quietly. So, what's the penalty for no masks? Patrick asked. I swallowed and said, I think they can fine you, but I don't know if that ever happens. Will they find us? Patrick asked. I don't understand your question. Who would find you? From where? Patrick waved toward my kitchen like he was trying to motion to something beyond the walls of my townhouse. We were at a store. The Walmart. He pronounced it as Al, like the name. Instead of like all in wall. Walmart, Trey said correctly. Patrick waved him off. That's not the important part. That's not the important part. They had cameras there. The masked worker at the door told us we had to wear masks. It was the law. Some of the other people there argued with him, and it got heated. He said he was calling the police, and we ran. How much trouble are we in, and will they be able to find us? I blinked a couple times. I felt like I was in a play. or a dark comedy? Did you take out your gun while you were there? No, not until we got to you and used you to get away. Sorry, Trey said again. To my credit, I didn't tell him it was okay this time. All right. Okay. I'm going to come to a stopping point here soon. To my credit, I didn't tell him it was okay this time. They just wanted you to put on a mask, and then you ran away. Did you hit or threaten anyone? The others threatened. Evelyn said, but we just ran. Will they think we were part of that group and come after us? No, I said. We broke the mask law, though, Patrick said. I took a deep breath and said that greeter, the old man at the door, would have just given you a mask. It's no big deal. No one will come looking for you. You're sure? Trey asked. I looked around at each of their faces. And said, I'm sure, as long as you haven't abducted anyone else, then no one is looking for you. They all sighed. Each one of them let out a relieved let me spell that right. A relieved breath at the same moment. They all sighed. Each one of them let out a relieved breath at the same moment. It was like I had commuted their sentence. Where are you three from? I don't understand. I don't understand what's going on here. Trey took a deep breath and held it. He looked at Patrick, and the big man just shrugged. Trey let out. They make that the same paragraph, so I don't have two Trey paragraphs in a row. Trey let out the breath and said, I graphed. Shoot. Okay. Keep hitting that insert key by accident. I need to be sure insert is off so I don't accidentally start erasing my stuff. Alright. Trey said, I grafted technology from another world into my body, and then I started traveling between worlds, documenting everything I saw. Trey patted one of his jean pockets as if that would mean something to me. Aveline and Patrick got too close as I slipped worlds, and now they're along for the ride. I was afraid for my life again because you can't trust crazy people. Oh, well, that makes sense then, I said. Will you be leaving soon for another world? Alright, I may stop there today. I'm at 21,241 and 20,000 was my goal, so that puts me less than 1,500 from tomorrow's goal. And I think that's pretty good for an unfocused day. So it does appear that our characters slipping between worlds, have found themselves in our world. So I'll pick up with chapter 9 again tomorrow. That place would have been a good place to break it, but I've been switching narrators. Between chapters And so if I flip the chapter, then we're looking in someone else's head, but that may be what I want to do. So let me go ahead and alright, so this would be chapter 10. So we'll go to someone else's head. We'll go back to one of our other characters. Alright. Control copy. So it's still the same chapter title. That makes sense then. I said, Rick said to Trey, on the couch, I looked to Patrick. Okay, I looked to Patrick, who stood with his arms crossed. He had at least put the gun away. I wished he hadn't brought it from the last world. I wish we'd stayed in that house until he was healed from any infection. Trey said, the system has to recharge. Oh, cool. Cool. Rick said, I realized as Trey started explaining the technology, I could tell he didn't get that Rick didn't believe any of this, but was going along because he was afraid we were going to hurt him. Trey was saying, okay, we'll stop there. Now we've switched narrators, and that'll pick us up tomorrow. So now I'm at 21,341. So a little over 1,000 words to meet my goal tomorrow. I don't know if there's something I need to do to specify that we're still in the same world. I guess if you're following the conversation, you'll figure that out. I don't know if I need to do a part 2 or something. I don't know. I probably could have done parts for chapter 9, but that's okay. Maybe it'll just be clear. I could put the characters' names that are actually the narrators up there but in a couple cases we don't know their names, and the names are told in the chapter. Yeah, I don't know. We'll figure it out. Alright, so we've saved that. 21,341. 21,341. So I'm going to go to my NaNoWriMo page. Ugh, I've already forgotten. Okay. 21,341. 21,341. 21,341. 21,341. Okay. Very happy with my day. Update my progress. And we are moving right along. So closing in on that 25K badge. And doing great, I think. Let's take a moment to look at a few of our friends who are doing their NaNoWriMo. Jessica McHugh. I'm not sure what this novella is about, but there's like a mention of she needed a song from a Broadway musical last night, so she was putting that in and gave a couple of character details that were kind of interesting. I'm going to take a look at her page. Oh wow, she's blasted past it. There we go. She is at 26,160, and there's another novella to add on. I think she mentioned that this may be one that was already started, so this 26 may be on top of something that was already there, but looks like she may be blasting into another project here soon, but we'll check that out another time. Alright, so excellent job. She is blowing it away for NaNoWriMo. Definitely a challenge for everybody else. So let's look at Armand Rosamilia. Armand Rosamilia is at 18,235. Now, something I found interesting about his Nano is the projects he's done before. Frozen in Ice is a monster story he did for Severed Press that's very good, and he did that as a Nano book. Dirty Deeds 8, that's a wonderful crime fiction series. The books are very short and very fast paced, so there's no wasted pages in those books. He did one of those for a NaNoWriMo. Now, I find it interesting the ones he has not released yet. So, Black and White and Epic Supernatural Thriller, I don't know what he's done with that. The Chelsea Avenue books are excellent. The first Chelsea Avenue book was why I wanted to co-write with him. When I read that, I saw some great potential in what he was doing. Now, Green River Blend 3, he's finished, but he didn't hit the NaNoWriMo goal. But again, that doesn't really matter. Dirty Deeds 2, he was writing for Nano 1 year. Again, didn't finish it for Nano, but he finished it. Plan C, I'm not sure what happened that year, but this became a novel that's on his Patreon page, and I support his Patreon page, so I've seen that one. Green River Blend is excellent. And then way back when, he wrote Darlene Bobbich, Zombie Killer, and that book set off the Dying Days zombie series, which has 9 books in it, extreme zombie horror, and that series is just excellent. It's finished at 9 books, so he has some great work out there, and NaNoWriMo was a part of it. I think the significant difference for Armand is that these are books he'd be writing anyway, so it's not like he's using Nano to just motivate him to write a book. He's got a specific schedule he's following, he's got things he needs to publish, so he's just using NaNoWriMo to continue what he was doing anyway. And that's probably why his books are so solid. Alright, so let's keep going down the line. Going back to my buddy's page. Again, I don't want to show everybody because not everyone is interested in being on there. Let's check out Chuck Buda. Really proud of Chuck Buda. He and I had talked online, and I just asked him if he was like holding out word count. Like, I didn't know if he was like waiting to post later. I didn't want to show his page and make it look like he wasn't writing, but he said he was struggling with it a little bit. And he said, you can use me as an example of a real world example of how it goes off the rails. And I said, no, I don't need that. I was just encouraging you so that, you know, maybe you can get back to it or that kind of thing. And he seemed to appreciate that. He appreciated just the support. And so he was at 2,000 something from that first night sprint. He and a couple of other folks connected to the Mondo Method podcast. We did sort of a thing that I participated in up until midnight, and then midnight Eastern time, those guys in the Eastern time zone did a sprint of writing at that point. And he was at about 2,000 words. Now he's at 8,161, which is excellent. I mean, technically you could look at that and say, well, if you divide by 1,667 and say, well, he's a little behind. But the point is, he went from 2,000 something where he might have quit, and he just motivated himself to blast past 8,000, and that's huge. That's back on track and everything. So the important thing is not whether he gets to 50,000, although where he is now, that is not out of the realm of possibility. It's that he's getting this book done, and the Son of Earp series is very, very good. It's an excellent supernatural Western series. He got that going way before a bunch of other horror authors started moving into Westerns. And some of the Westerns I've read from horror authors are some of their best work. But this series is something special. So I'm excited to see Corral of Blood come out. Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate it. Kayla's complimenting me on my stream and encouraging me as well. I can always use some encouragement, so I appreciate it. So Chuck Boot is doing a great job. And again, this is a book. I'm a little selfish here as a reader. This is a book I want to see. So I've read all the other books in that series. I can't remember the exact books in order. I know Desert Fangs was the last one that came out, and this is another one. It's sort of supernatural meets the Wild West. So very proud of what Chuck has done, and that's a good motivation to show that, like, if you fall behind and you work at it a little bit more, you can get right back on track. We've looked at a lot of folks here each day, so I may give some of them a break and come back to them again later on. I kind of want to see Stephen Kazanowski again, because I want to look at his old projects, because it's kind of an interesting list as well. So Stephen Kazanowski, he's at 23,889, so that is excellent work. Projects. So he's working on Clickers Never Die right now. The Flesh Machines is something that he wrote past the 50,000 words, and it's completed, but I haven't seen it yet, so I wonder where that's going. Perfectly Fine House, A Secret Policeman's Conscience. That second title, I don't know what came of that, but A Perfectly Fine House became something that he co-wrote with Wiley Young, and it is one of the best ghost stories I've read in a very, very long time. It completely reverses the genre. Everybody's always trying to write a new thing, a new type of zombie book, a new type of ghost story, and most of the time we don't. We end up writing something that is very similar to other things that are out there, because the tropes have been used a lot. There's nothing wrong with them. It's just hard to come up with something that's truly completely new. You can have a new take, but a lot of times we're working with the old tropes. This book does what most people can't accomplish. It is a truly unique ghost story, haunted house story. So Perfectly Fine House just completely turns that trope up on its ear. So it's one of their both those authors together. It's one of their best books. Slash Viver, Notes from the Undead. Looks like he got past 50,000, but haven't seen it. Hunter of the Dead. Now, these may be books I just missed, so I don't want to claim that he hasn't written them. Hunter of the Dead is a great vampire novel. Again, it's another thing where Kazanowski managed to just incorporate, like, sort of this mythology and medieval into modern times, and then fighting vampires. It's really excellent. Notes from the Undead Round 2. Looks like maybe he was hitting this a few times, so I'm not sure what happened to that. And then he wrote, this is a long time ago, so I don't know, these may be trunk novels at this point. Kingdom was a fantasy story. I don't know what happened with that. Billy and the Clonosaurus, I'm sorry. Really sort of just weird sci-fi horror type thing, and it's funny and it's good. The Ghoul Archipelago, that's out, and has done very well. Brain Eater Jones is, again, a really funny, different take on the idea of zombies. So now that I'm looking through all his work, One of Stephen Kazanowski's real strengths is that he writes tropes that we're used to in very, very different ways. I guess I knew that just from reading his work. He has some sci-fi horror called the Hermatophages, very, very much Clive Barker in space kind of thing. I think that's not original to me. Someone else described it that way, but that's very close to what it is. So Stephen Kazanowski is just an impressive writer all around, and his Nano books kind of show that as well. Um, Couple other, maybe one more author I want to look at. Let me get all the way back out here. Having to hit the back button a lot because I was clicking back and forth. All right, so I'll look at everybody's stuff again soon, but today I want to look at an author that I just buddied up with. We've been friends for a while, and he's been writing for a long time. Todd Kiesling is a well-renowned author. He is at 17,024, so doing great for the 30-day pace. He has a number of excellent books. You can see some of them up here at the top, but we'll go ahead and look at his Amazon page. This Midnight in the Pentagram anthology, I've seen that around a good bit, so there's some pretty big name authors. His real signature work, I don't know if he would agree with this, but just my opinion, is Devil's Creek. That's an earlier novel for him, and it's very well done. It's excellent writing and a great story. He's been in a number of cool anthologies. This Arterial Bloom, is from Crystal Lake Publishing, and it's a really good anthology as well. I may have to look at it down here because it was kind of off screen there. So Arterial Bloom, just a list of powerhouse authors, and Crystal Lake is a very tough publishing stories in with, because they pay well. They put out high quality anthologies, so they're only picking the best stories. So Arterial Bloom, I know a few authors in there, and it is just excellent work, as Crystal Lake always does. That's a very old anthology. I'm in that one, and that one came out years and years ago. So just a lot of great work there. I've read more of his short story work. I've read Devil's Creek, but I've read more of his short story work than I have his longer pieces. I believe I've read essays from him too. He's in some of these author guides books, so I think he's in a couple of those. Yeah, Writers on Writing. Don't remember how long ago those came out, but I mean, you got names like Jack Ketchum and Tim Wagoneer. Tim Wagoneer has his own writing book out that's really great, and again, just a bunch of powerhouse names there specifically in the horror genre, but it's also just all around good writers. Many of them have expanded into other areas in their writing since then. All right, let me get back. Actually, let me just go to the story. So we finished going into chapter 10 a little bit. Maybe I just decided where I was going to stop, and that became chapter 10. I guess that's how all writing works. But this was Rise Again, a sci-fi novel by Jay Wilburn. I'll pick up again tomorrow, and maybe we will reveal some more about our characters, and the story will really start hopping along then. So thank you to everybody who has watched along, and I look forward to talking to you again soon.